You're watching The Kate Fox Show. I'm Kate Fox, and I am here today with Gail Margaret King. And Gail is just a powerhouse like I have never seen before, and a very dear friend. Hi, Gail.
Thank you. What a lovely opening. Nice welcome, and it's great to see you too.
I'm so thrilled to talk to you, and I've wanted to speak to you for a long time.
You can ask anything you want. Carte blanche.
All right. Well, wait. Check. And we go back almost 4 years.
We do.
And we met at a fundraiser for the Babylon Breast Cancer Coalition, and you were there covering the event and doing interviews.
That's right. And you were so friendly. I had a chance to talk with you and your mom and find out some of your background, which intrigued me. Mm-hmm. And we became friends.
We did. Friends, sisters.
That's it.
And
love your writing, love your poetry, and thrilled by that.
Thank you.
And I better be careful because I'm interviewing you.
So I knew she was going to steal the show. It's okay.
No, but that's how we are.
I love it.
It's a sisterhood.
It is. And now I am a newbie to the breast cancer survivorship, essentially. I'm going on 6 years. Mm-hmm. You, on the other hand, you were a teacher, and then you were diagnosed with breast cancer how many years ago?
45 years ago. I was up for tenure and was so worried because at that time, Kate, people thought that you could catch cancer, and it was a secret. You didn't even say the word. My inspiration at that time to start with was a newscaster by the name of Betty Rowland, and she'd written a book, First You Cry, and she wasn't allowed to use the word cancer in it in the 70s.
Wow.
They would not even, I know because you've published your books, mm-hmm. and I thought that'd be of interest to you to share, but can you imagine?
I can imagine. And I know, in day-to-day life, everyone was, oh, the C word, cancer. I didn't realize that it was that stringent.
They really thought you could catch it. In fact, as I said, I was up for tenure, and my students were very upset. At that time, in the 70s, it's so different than what we have today. We had no mammograms, no MRIs, no markers. There was nothing like that. You had to go in and have a biopsy. And in my case, I was just so very fortunate. I was doing some graduate work over at Stony Brook University. And the professor came in, and people were talking. Stony Brook is a great university, but there were 500 plus in my class. Wow. And when the professor came in, that woman will never know, she saved my life. She said, smoking her cigar, her name was Sally, quite a character. It was supposed to be Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf analysis. And she was just going at it. She drew a picture of something on the board, and I wasn't feeling well at the time. And I copied it, thinking I'd go home, transcribe the notes, figure it out. Mm-hmm. When she drew this, people weren't even paying attention. But because I wasn't feeling well, and because I was so into detail, I copied it exactly. And then much to my surprise, it was a picture of a breast. She had a friend who had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was going to teach us how to find lumps, if there were any. People were buzzing. Nobody talked about cancer at that time. And I went home that night listening to Barry Manilow in the bathtub singing his heart out to Mandy, and I felt a lump.
Wow.
Kate, it wasn't that lump. It was the lump underneath. I was 25 years old. Now you know the age. But you know what, at 70, I'm thrilled that I can even share something like this at this particular time.
I am too.
Truly. So from there, I asked the doctor, when I was in the hospital, if we could do the 2 stages. First the biopsy, and then if it were indeed cancer, then we would take it to the next step. At that time, it was only mastectomy. That was it.
Yeah, they just...
I was concerned because I didn't want to have the Halsted, which is what they wanted to do. Halsted is where they took not only your lymph glands, which they did, the breast, but they took under your arm and they took your ribs.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so different. That's why it's so incredible today how far we've come.
Yes, it is.
But to get back to that, my doctor was an artist. And he said, I have a 25-year-old woman here. She reminds me of my daughter. I'm going to do the modified radical. And that is indeed what he did. It was the day before Easter.
Oh my goodness.
Boy, I have vivid memories of that.
I'm sure
Yes,
you do.
yes.
And I'm listening to you, and I know how things have changed, but it's just such, to hear someone who actually went through it, and to compare even to what I dealt with so recently, and even the things that have changed since then. It's crazy.
It is.
And yet, here you are, gorgeous and thriving.
Definitely. Well, as I say, I'm a survivor with attitude. That's a thriver. And I always say that you have to have plenty of attitude to get through this. But you know, I learned so much at that time. Bernie Siegel, I don't know if you're conversant with his work.
I am a little familiar with it.
He wrote an incredible book about love, miracles, and medicine.
Yes.
And I didn't have it at that time. I read it a couple of years later. But in it, he talks about what this disease will prepare you and let you do. And when I first heard that, I said, what is he talking about? And then I realized how much I'd grown from this, what it meant for me as a person, as a woman, as somebody who could learn to give back to others. And when I reflect upon my time period in that hospital, I realized that there was a plan for me.
Oh, there absolutely was a plan for you. And I think you've outgrown the plan.
No, there's still more coming up, I'm sure. But I'll tell you, in the hospital, you know, I visited children. Hospitals in the 70s were so different than they are today. The doctors, some of them smoked in the room. People came in. My dad had asked them to stop smoking because he saw me turning green. The patient next to me did not make it. There was lung cancer and had a cigarette 2 nights before she died. It was just totally different. The good news is that a lot of people were allowed to visit you. They weren't that strict. And the other piece of good news that I would love to share is that when I was in the hospital, I wanted to visit the children. Now I'm going to paint this picture of what I looked like. Share this with you. My mom brought me a peignoir so that I would feel better about myself. I put lipstick on, a ribbon in my hair, a peignoir. Now, if you could imagine, I'm hooked up to machines. They had to cut, they had to put this peignoir on, but I probably looked like a bride. And the
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I went to the children's ward, and they thought I was a princess. I saw myself at that point, which was so wonderful, through their eyes. They thought I was so pretty. And they had cancer. I read to them. I donated a lot of flowers from the teachers at school to other people in the hospital. But that helped tremendously.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to get that perception handed to you when you were,
Right.
especially at the stage that you were and while you were there, I mean, what a lovely gift they gave you.
They gave me tremendous gift, and they gave me courage to see their little bodies and their little faces, and to have that beautiful smile on their faces. I knew this was something very, very special. I knew it at that time. So I have to tell you, the hospital was amazing. It was Southside.
Okay. Oh.
It was Southside. I was too thin. I was down to 80 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
I was too thin to be moved to Sloan Kettering. I had gone to 5 doctors before this one doctor, who was a general surgeon in Bayshore, found the lump. And that in itself is an incredible story. But the one thing I do want to share with viewers is when you feel something and you think it's a lump, never be ashamed to go to somebody to check it out.
Never.
You're going to probably find it before anybody else will. I went to 5 doctors. He was the 5th. Because why? Because at that time, 25-year-olds didn't get breast cancer.
Right.
There's no breast cancer history in my family. Nobody talked about it. I was asked instead if I was having a problem in my marriage, if I was looking for attention.
Oh my.
It was very, very scary. And this was the one doctor, Dr. Bromberg, who had me visit him and said, you know what, lumps can come and go. Let's give it a few months. And 2 months later, I said, I can't. My skin is breaking out.
Wow.
I'm losing my hair. Something's terribly wrong, and it's not stress. I'm exhausted, And my students noticed it.
Really? Well, yeah, I guess if you were changing and
Hormones.
yes.
Their hormones.
And but what you're telling me right now is, and what it's something I like to tell people, you were advocating for yourself.
You have to.
Because, and that's a big thing. If you feel something's not right, if you feel, you know yourself better than anyone. You know your body. You know your health.
Right.
And even if number 1, 2, 3, and 4 doesn't listen to you, then you go to 5.
I called each of the doctors afterwards, and first they were concerned, is this about a lawsuit? I said, not at all. I said, but when you have a person, a young woman, a young guy, somebody coming to you, give them a second chance. Don't be so quick to dismiss it. One was my cousin's husband who had dismissed it.
That's, wow.
Yeah,
That's
it. But it is the way it was in that time period. And I mention all this because so many opportunities today. We've come so far, and it's so wonderful. But you not only have to be your own advocate, Kate, you also have to be very involved with the doctors, ask questions, and be receptive.
Yes, because if you're not receptive, then you're still not going to do the right thing, even if they find whatever's going on with you. If you're shut down, you're still not going to get the care you need.
You should accept it. And I don't mean accept it like, oh my gosh, this is it. I mean accept the fact that you do have cancer. Now I'm in the fight for my life. What is it I can do? We didn't have computers. We didn't even have cell phones at that time. So instead I had books. And as I mentioned, Betty Rawlings. And the other person, and I advocate this person, I can't say enough about it, Norman Cousins, who was suffering not from cancer, but from a disease in which he couldn't move his jaw. It was his skin, his bones, and his very good friend said to him, you have very little time to live. And he said, I cannot believe all this. He said it was from traveling to different countries. He was in Russia. And he said, all of this stress so impinged upon me that, it affected me. So he went to his friend, who was a doctor, and said, if stress indeed can cause this, then what would be the opposite? Okay, relaxing and laughter. He got rid of the 43 medicines he took daily, and instead he put up My Three Stooges, the old films on the hospital walls, and everybody was watching it and they were laughing. But he excused himself after 2 months because he noticed that he was getting better, went home, and he indeed lived 20 more years.
Really?
So what are we advocating?
Wow.
Laughter. So having read that, people were coming to visit me, and they were crying. And I said, nobody's allowed in if you cry. You can bring me food, you can bring me flowers, you can bring me gifts, but you bring me a smile. If you cry, it's going to bring me down.
Yeah.
If you look at me with tears, it's going to affect me. And it was very difficult for family and for a lot of people.
I'm sure. But they have to follow your rules.
Absolutely.
Because you're the one who's healing.
Well, you know what happened? After that, I became very popular in the hospital. Everybody wanted to see who this happy woman was. And based on that, I got terrific attention, better food. I had visitors. And it really turned into something very, very positive.
Wow. And that's, speaking of turning into something positive, I know we started off with the breast cancer story because you are such an example, but there are so many things that you have accomplished and that you keep accomplishing that we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about those positive things. back with Gail Margaret King. And Gail, I notice you're holding something in your lap.
You can't miss it. It's heavy. All right, let me share a little bit about that. You know, I taught high school English and college English for, I guess, 37 years. And when I retired, I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. I went to Northport, sat by the water, and I cried. I started thinking, I would have been in first period. I would have had these students.
Oh my goodness.
It broke my heart. And did I make the right decision? I had seen something about a pageant, Miss New York Senior America, and I thought it would be fun. And if nothing else, I could write about the experience because as a former teacher of English, I had some writing experience. My specialty was the regions, drama, etc., public speaking. So I thought this would be great. I entered it, and I tell you, it was quite an experience. I walked through the door, and I looked around, and I saw that a part of it was for talent. People were dancing, they were singing, and I said to my significant other, they don't know me, I'll just walk right through. And he looked at me, and he said, what are you talking about? It's the dignity of trying. And I felt so guilty thinking about leaving that I said, okay. And with that, the director came running over. Oh, Gail, you look just like your picture. I knew that was you. And I thought, I'm stuck. And I was a little bit intimidated, I have to tell you that. And from there, I did win it. But I do have kind of a cute story to share about
Wait, I'm sorry, wait. You won what?
Miss New York Senior America. Well, it was interesting. It was your philosophy of life, your talent. I did a lyrical ballet, modeling, and then an interview. And they would have judges and they threw questions at you. And I do have to share this with you though. I think if I had to work on anything at that point, it would have been definitely my talent. I hadn't danced in many, many years. I was in a ballet company at 13, 14. I hadn't danced since then. And I thought I could go in reciting Shakespeare. That's what I thought I could do. And the director said, oh no, people will be bored. You have to have a talent. So I went to a ballet studio, Victor Moore, not far from here, and he worked with me, and worked with me, and worked, and I did the ballet. However, the way that they had done the announcing at the end of it was so strange. They announced the fourth runner-up, the third runner-up. My mother had come to see it, and she was very big into the talent, and she left, thinking that, oh, she has no chance. She didn't make fourth, third, second, and left. And then they announced me as the winner.
Oh my God.
Well, from there, because I am competitive, you have to know that. But you know what? It's not even competitive against other people. It's competitive within myself. And you probably, I know you're like that too.
I am.
I know that. So I really studied ballet. I danced 2 or 3 hours a day until my feet had blisters and actually bled. I was in my backyard doing tourgetés and anishkats. I was all over the place. And when I went back to represent New York, I looked again at all the winners from each state for Miss Senior America, which is for the whole country. It's a national contest. And I thought, well, I'll be okay in the interview. And I'll share how I did that because it helps you with fighting cancer as well. But as far as that, I ended up winning the entire pageant. And that got me started with speaking and engagements. But I want to go back to what helped me. I used visualization, and that is where you see something and you believe in it so strongly. And what I did is I took the picture of the previous queen, whom I adore. Olivia is wonderful. And I cut her picture out, and I put my face in the little post-it that they had, took it to my room and said, you won. This is great. Just like you would be fighting cancer. I'm cured, I'm fine. I see all the cells coming out of me. It's the same premise. And when I went into the room where they were interview room, and I'm telling you, we had celebrity interviewers, I wasn't nervous because I pretended I'd already won, and there they are wanting to hear what I had to say.
I love it.
Use that for anything you're ever nervous about. If you've already won, what's the fear? So when I walked in, I said, well, hello, and how are you? I was fine.
I love it.
And then the questions were interesting. You know, they had asked who was my hero. And I picked Audrey Hepburn, and not because of the obviously so beautiful, but because she had cancer. She went in as UN representative, UNICEF for children. It wasn't about this. She didn't care about that.
No,
her beauty came radiated from her heart. And that was my hero. And that meant so much to me. And then I juxtaposed my journey with Odysseus, you know. So, you know, all the things that I was having a ball. So when I came out, everybody said, was that tough? No. I said,
couldn't you lie?
I should have. Trust me, I should have. But no, I never lie. But no, I wish I had.
But and you won.
I won,
and
then
it
it
led
to other events. It led to my own TV show. It led to seeing me in newspapers, magazines. In fact, I was in the Examiner, like the Inquirer, and it wasn't a true picture. They had me with a small person who was not in the pageant. And I said to my significant other, that looks like me in there next to her. And he said, that is you. But you don't get a big head. You don't get a big head. I was asked to speak as Miss Senior America at a luncheon. And a woman came running over. Oh, I know you, before she knew I was going to speak. And I said, well, maybe, you know, from my pageant, from modeling, from being on TV, from being on Law and Order. And she said, no. She said, I know what it is in front of everybody. It's your shoes. You were in front of me.
Oh my God.
In Stop and Shop. And I thought, those are hot shoes.
I love it.
Brought me right back.
Well, you know what?
Back.
The universe has ways of doing that. No matter how, you know, you have trouble walking through the door sometimes with your head. And the universe says, you know what?
Okay, so the pageant gave me confidence. You know, my only problem in high school, and you guys wouldn't believe it, the only C I ever received was speaking. I was
really?
Shy. Yeah. Being nearsighted helps tremendously. Now I can speak before a few thousand at Eisenhower Park. I go center, smile, look, and I can't see. It's like touch and feel.
Oh my! I can't believe it. I really can't. And now you just said.
Kate. Yes, I was on Law and Order. I did recently. The most recent, which I didn't get to see myself in, I think I saw the back of my head, was The Affair on Showtime.
Oh, that's right. So, okay. Yeah. Let's see. Miss Senior America, Miss Senior New York. You write articles, model.
Fashion Week was.
That's okay. Now we're jumping away from the acting because you just mentioned Fashion Week.
Yeah.
You've been walking in shows for a couple of years now, correct?
This was my, I think, third year for Vanny Toussignant, who's an amazing designer. And what I want to do is give mature models a chance to get out there because we haven't fallen down and can't get up. We're up it. We're so up. And I think it's so important that we not look at our baby boomers as just somebody that we laugh at. And I have to say, Kate, that a lot of times people do laugh at it. If you look at the commercials, look how they're projected.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's not okay.
No, it's not. Okay. It's not. I mean, I feel like it's changing a little bit.
It is. It is. I just don't think it's going fast enough. We have different types of models, and of course we have different type of modeling. I didn't know I was runway because I'm petite and I am 70. And, you know, most of the models are so much taller. But if you think about it, those women who are watching the show, they want to buy those outfits. They want to see what they're going to look like as well.
Yes.
So if you're a smart designer, going to pick someone like me, going to have fun out there, you're going to show what we can do and what we're capable of. And it's okay if we have some wrinkles. It's okay if we're not flawless. We're not supposed to be. We're imperfect, perfect beings.
We are actually. We're going to take one more break and we'll be right back.
Senior America 2009. But first, I'm going to announce the second runner-up. Your second runner-up, Miss Idaho Diane Wilson.
I can't take this.
I'm going to have a stroke. No, I am going to have an absolute
One of you are
stroke.
about to be crowned the new Miss Senior America. Very, very important job. But the role of the first runner-up is just as important, because if for any reason Miss Senior America is not able to fulfill her obligations, the first runner-up will take over.
We've got to
those
have an
duties.
ambulance outside.
Congratulations on getting in this far. I will first announce the name of the first runner-up. Then I will announce the name of Miss Mississippi!
Oh my God! Oh God! Oh, Gail!
And now, Gail, you are the host of Looking to Make a Difference with Gail.
Yes.
And you have been doing that show for how long?
It's now, I think, going into the 9th year, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. It was after the pageant, having spent, I made 500 appearances around the country talking about breast cancer, animal rights, gangs, all different veterans.
Wow.
And I thought it would be great to show the good things that people are doing. And that's how the show actually started. That was the premise of it. Started with 501 charities, and from there it just kept growing. But that is how it started.
Wow. And you have your, you have people come into the studio and you interview them,
Yes.
but you also cover a lot of red carpet events.
I do.
You do a ton of things.
I do. I like to keep busy. That time that I sat by Northport crying, what will happen to me? Those days are gone.
They're very far
No,
gone.
it's not enough hours in the day. But yes, I do enjoy the red carpets for movies. I've done a few at Bella Magazine where I've interviewed the housewives and psychics, Long Island Medium. In fact, I even ended up on her show from having interviewed her. Yeah, at a charity over at Crest Hollow.
Wow.
You know, Keith's charity.
You do everything.
Not quite, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to think I do know what's left. You know, there's a book within me. I have written articles for magazines. I have written a chapter in a book. But I have this idea, who killed the beauty queen? I think it would be so much fun. I used to read a book a day, and I love mysteries. What people don't know about me is I love anything that's macabre, and then I alternate it with Hallmark.
Wow.
So I love that. I'm fascinated with it. So I think that's going to be before I turn 80. That's one of my bucket list goals.
Well, I know you're going to do it. I have no doubt. And I will read it. And I'm very excited. See, now I'm excited about that. You sidetracked me completely. So now, where can people find your show? Where can they find you?
I actually had to write all this down. Okay, I'm on Fios, I'm on Time Warner, Brick Art Media. I can be seen from the Hamptons to the 5 boroughs. I can be seen on YouTube, Gail King TV, Looking to Make a Difference with Gail. You can find me on gailking.tv, and you can find me on Gail Margaret King, Gail King, Gail M. King on Facebook to see where I will be next or whom I'm going to interview. But I tell you, it's been wonderful, and I really have to thank a lot of people who have been giving me tremendous support and encouragement. We jest a lot, but in truth, I really do want to make a difference in this world. And I'm hoping that if I can affect at least one person, then I've done my job.
Well, I tell you what, you affect so many more people than one.
Thank you. In a good way, I hope.
Oh, always in a good way. And any person that I know that has met you, that we know in common, there is not one negative that ever comes to mind,
Wow.
ever comes
Thank
out of
you
mouths.
so much.
But
Thank
it's
you.
true. It's
I
really
appreciate
true.
that.
You present yourself, well, you're honest, you're genuine, and you are a positive
Sometimes
person.
too honest, guys. Too honest.
But that's okay, because that's you. And
Yeah, I
you
mean,
are,
no harm by it. You know, it's
no. And
Yeah.
you're you. You're you. You leave good everywhere you go. You leave
Thank
smiles
you. That
everywhere
I
you go.
really, that's beautiful, and I appreciate it. And I would quote I'm going to use Alexandra Pope because this is something that I do try to live by. And it's not easy, but in order to get on in life and to be happy, to err is human, to forgive, divine.
Gail, you are divine.
Oh, thank you, Kate.
You
It's
truly
always a
are.
pleasure. I love you.
I love you too. Gail Margaret King.